All right, guys, welcome back to the Living Legends Outdoors podcast. This is episode 22. We're going to go through the people in this podcast here. To my right, I got
Coy Moore.
And then over here is Hunter Embright.
Gunnar Johnson on the board.
Jace Nichols.
And then we have special guest going over the phone.
Oh, you want me to say my name? Aaron Warbritton.
All right, we got Aaron Warbritton in here from the hunting public, and this is an honor to have you on the podcast today. I know we've known you for a little bit from when you were hunting that deer that Steven shot, that giant 9. But it's truly an honor to have you on the podcast and be able to talk about hunting with you. So we're really happy to have you, and we'll just kind of get into it here. And if you just want to tell us a little bit just about yourself and how you got into where you are now.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to do it, guys. I am just a redneck from northeast Missouri. Grew up in a small town. I graduated high school with like 40 people, something like that. And I just grew up hunting. I mean, since I was like 5-6 years old. I mean, my earliest memories are just walking around the woods, either looking for mushrooms or out there fishing or hunting, whatever. I mean, that's just what we did. And my whole family is a hunting family. So like all my uncles, my cousins, everybody always hunted. Deer camp was a tradition we always did every year. And we mostly hunted on small private properties that we just had permission to hunt. My grandpa bought a farm back in the 70s that we hunted on some, and I killed my first turkey, my first deer there. And then we also hunted public land, kind of a 50-50 split, if you will. Most of my childhood growing up, we would hunt some public and hunt some private on permission, and then eventually I was always into filming my hunts. When I was like 10 or 11 years old, me and my cousin, we'd watch Realtree Monster Bucks tapes in the old VCR, and it would get us fired up for deer season, so we'd be out there with our my aunt's cheap video camera trying to make hunting videos, and you can imagine how that went.
Yeah, that's exactly like us and how we started this.
The first hunt I ever recorded was on my mom's like little camera. She used to record like our baseball games and stuff on, and I just found an old tripod that I got at Goodwill, and I took it out. I'm like, I'm just gonna start recording crap.
Oh yeah, my aunt didn't love us beating the crap out of her home video camera, but that's kind of how we learned, and then just kind of grew from there. I knew this is what I always wanted to do, was make hunting videos. I mean, that's where I was lucky. I knew from like the age of 11 that that's what I wanted to do. So I was always sort of dabbling in it, trying to make better ones. And, you know, I'd walk around these outdoor shows with these DVDs that I'd burned at home of my crappy hunting videos and hand them to people, and they'd chuck them in the garbage or whatever. I did that for a long time. And eventually, you know, got better and better at it, and now that's what I primarily do.
Which is really cool because, I mean, we kind of got to witness your guys' growth, and now you guys are probably one of the biggest out there in the industry. And it's really fun to watch you guys. You guys you guys can see that in your guys' videos. You guys are true to yourself, and you guys like to have fun, and you enjoy the game. And I think that's what has helped excelled you guys to the top, is just being you guys, going out there having fun. And you guys also made public hunting like to where people want to do it, to where I feel like now more people are look into going to hunt public first as for beginner hunters, to where the usual was everybody felt like they had to have private permission to even go hunting. And I feel like you guys have kind of opened that up for everybody, and made them realize that, hey, you can go on hunt on the public ground and kill some giant bucks
Or even turkeys.
You guys have changed the kind of the layout of how hunting was, in my opinion, from everybody wanting to hunt private to now everybody kind of wants to hunt public and kind of do it the harder way.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of just did that out of necessity. Like I said, I grew up hunting private on permission and public. And when I moved to Iowa to work for Winky at Midwest Whitetail as an intern originally, I mean, I was trying to get permission. We were all trying to get permission to hunt, and we were having a heck of a time doing it. So I just was like, I'll just go hunt this public land up the road. I mean, might as well. I don't have any other options. The only other option I had the first year was a piece of property that a friend of ours let us hunt on down in southeast Iowa, but it was like a 2.5 hour drive. So I could only get over there like a couple times a year, and I'm trying to be in the woods, you know? So yeah, I mean, we just gravitated towards public because that was the only option available to us. And as I was growing up, you know, when I was in junior high, I had a handful of spots that I can hunt on permission. But by the time I was in college, I only had a couple. And one of those was the farm, the original farm that my grandpa owned where my dad still lives. That sort of became the last place that I had available to hunt other than public land. So just by necessity, you know, and this was when, you know, hunting leases were becoming more popular. A lot of people from the city that had higher paying jobs could afford to purchase land in our area. You know, when we come from a small rural community, just middle class people, and yeah, I mean, we just eventually lost access, and I think millions of people are in the same boat across the country, and I thought it was just our situation as I was growing up, you know, so we were having to go to public more and more frequently just to have a place to hunt. But as I've traveled around the country and met people from, you know, a bunch of different places, I've noticed that that's a trend that a lot of people have experienced in the last 25 years or so.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And like one thing that I don't know if how to like, do you think with the whole leasing thing that came up, is that kind of like what killed more of the whole permission side of things? Because I know like when we grew up, we were kind of like you, we were out in the woods all the time, nonstop. But we got lucky enough. I know like me, Trace, and Coy, our dads were in with a farmer from the get-go, and we hunted that same property for, I don't know, I think it was like 18 years before he was like, hey, I'm going to lease stuff. And then we had to start paying him. And then I ended up going away from it last year, and started going permission. But do you think with the whole leasing side of things where people realize that they can start making money on their property by leasing it out or letting somebody come in and hunt and stuff like that, do you think that's what kind of pushed more people to start looking forward to the whole hunting public side of things?
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I mean, if you're a landowner in a rural community and you have several different options to, you know, monetize your property. You can farm it. You can maybe you can make some money off of CRP, or all of a sudden now somebody wants to pay me to hunt here. You know, why wouldn't you take that money and make that income? So I understand where people are coming from, but that definitely didn't used to be as much of a thing. But then, you know, we started growing trophy bucks became more of a big deal, and people were showing the general public how it can be done on private land, and one of the ingredients to that is by keeping people out, keeping the pressure down, and then managing your property, you can grow bigger, older bucks. And that's just sort of led to where we are today, essentially, where, you know, whitetail hunting land is a precious commodity, and it's worth a lot of money, whether you're leasing it or you're buying it. And there's, you know, the disadvantage to that is the access problem that we've kind of already talked about. And that's what I went through when I was a kid. I mean, we didn't have enough money to buy any sort of hunting land at the time. So we just had to go on permission or public. That was the only option. We didn't have any other choice. So when all those properties started getting bought up around me, I'll be honest, I was mad. I was resentful because I was losing places that me and my buddies grew up hunting, and we couldn't afford to hunt there anymore. So it sucked at the time. So that's why we ended up where we did. However, as I've gotten older, I've seen the other side of the coin as well. A lot of the people that buy these properties for hunting, yes, they may be trophy buck minded, and that may keep access down, which I don't like that part of it. But I do like that most of those people are stewards of that land, and they put in a lot of time and effort to, you know, making better habitat and having a place to grow and hold wildlife, not just deer, but turkeys, quail. You know, some of the best areas habitat-wise that I've ever seen were owned by, you know, private landowners that care about wildlife. So there's kind of both sides to that coin, you know, and that's important. Obviously, I would much rather somebody that cares about wildlife own that property than a development company that's going to bulldoze all the trees in and start pouring concrete, you know, because then you're not going to have anything out there. If you have somebody that cares about deer and turkeys and quail and wildlife and, you know, natives and whatnot, they're, you know, native browse and native plants, they're going to be more apt to sustaining that landscape over time. And those animals, as you guys know, they don't own those animals. That's just wildlife that happen to use their property maybe they use it 5 days a year. Maybe they're on their property, you know, 90% of the time. Those animals, you know, move across the landscape and onto their neighbors and everything else. So habitat is extremely important.
I think that's like one of the key things is that we have a good friend that we grew close to in the last couple of years, and he just kind of added on to a property and then added on, and then now he lives out there on that property. And he used to be like big into killing monsters all the time, and then all of a sudden he still is, you know, trying to grow and get a age structure on the property and stuff like that. And he's got the neighbors doing it as well. But after he bought the farm and everything, he's like, man, I don't even like, I like just going out and watching them. He's like, I just want to turn the land into something that the deer or the pheasant, the quail and everything else. And he even put like a pond on his property and stuff like that. And he really just, he said, once I owned the property, instead of just hunting for permission or something like that, he goes, my whole mindset changed, and it went into more of a caring for the land, caring for the animals that are on his property.
Oh yeah, and that's definitely a tremendous benefit.
Yeah, but since we coming into turkey season here, Aaron, I think for the past 3 weeks I've been just kind of jumping on YouTube, and I'm running through, and every time I jump on for a turkey hunt, I'm seeing you guys up there and you guys doing your turkey tour and stuff like that. Can you explain like what your turkey tour is for our listeners?
Yeah, we travel around and turkey hunt, basically starting in March and running clear through the end of May. And we don't necessarily focus on trying to kill turkeys in all 49 states. That's not really our thing with the turkey tour, but we do travel around. We hunt with friends and family in different states. You know, we usually start down south somewhere, and then we sort of just work our way back north as seasons open in the Midwest and out east, and then in the Northeast, in the upper Midwest, and then out west. We just bounce around. I usually hunt maybe a handful of states each spring.
Okay, that's
so. I'm not in the car like bouncing state to state to state every single day, you know, for 2.5 months. But right now I've hunted Mississippi already. I just went and filmed some hunts in Alabama. I'll hunt Missouri, potentially Illinois, and then I'll go out west for Miriam's.
Okay.
You know, in May, and that's a typical spring for me. That's kind of what the turkey tour is. We just make videos along the way.
Yeah.
I know over like the last couple of years you've been getting your boys into it. Are you guys planning on doing any kind of youth hunts there in Missouri, or?
He's got a ball tournament in Arkansas during the Missouri Youth Weekend. I wish that youth season was a week long. Mississippi does a full week for youth, and it just coincides with the kids' spring break in that state. So it's awesome. I mean, the kids get all week off from school. They get to hunt and fish and hang out, you know, with their friends. It's great. I'm not complaining, though. I mean, any youth season is good. We just can't go in Missouri this year. I may take him to the Illinois youth season, though. We're still trying to figure that out, which is only, you know, a little over a week away. Or actually, today's Saturday, isn't it? It is a week away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know one of the podcasts that we just got done was kind of talking a little bit of like turkey strategy, to where we thought maybe a lot of people don't understand like that there is a kind of quite a bit of strategy that goes into killing a turkey. What would you say like those main strategies are when it comes to trying to get on a big tom?
It just depends on where you're at, the timing of the season, the amount of hunting pressure you have on the property. You know, if you've got a big chunk of private land in, upper part of Missouri or Iowa, for example, and you have zero pressure on it and you've got 10, 15 gobblers on it, it's not the same situation as if you're in the Southeast and you're hunting in Georgia on a tract of public land on opening weekend. You're dealing with, it's kind of apples to oranges, honestly, because the southern turkeys that we deal with early in the season are henned up, number one. Turkey hunters are fanatical down there, like deer hunters are in Iowa. That's how turkey hunters are in the Southeast. Like their year revolves around turkeys. They just happen to be deer hunters, a lot of them, which, as you guys know, is kind of the opposite of how a lot of us are up in Iowa.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you're dealing with some absolute turkey assassins down there. They're the earliest seasons that come in. So everybody north of them that doesn't have a turkey season yet is trying to go hunting. So the non-residents want to pile in down there for those few early openers. So you kind of have this perfect storm of what I would call challenging turkeys to hunt. They're henned up. They don't gobble very much. You have a high-pressure public lands that are, in demand from everybody, not only in the state, but also everybody north of there, or non-residents from all over. And then you have very skilled turkey hunters that are not just your weekend warrior guys that are going to go out for 30 minutes on a Saturday morning. Like, these guys take their vacation down there for turkey season. Okay. And they have all-day seasons in some cases. It's just the turkeys are very difficult early in the year, and you have to change your tactics a little bit, in order to have success in those types of situations. So ultimately, that's my long-winded way of saying there's a bunch of tactics and strategies that work, but it all depends on the situation that you're in and which tactics you're going to employ. You can go out in a field with turkeys roosted off the side of it, get out there before the turkeys wake up, put a blind up and pop a decoy out there, and you're going to have a real good chance of killing one of those gobblers. If you're hunting big woods in the south in a swamp with 10 other hunters hunting 2 turkeys in there, you're going to have to use different tactics to kill those birds. More than likely. I mean, who knows? You might be able to use the same tactics, but that's why I always kind of revert back to the situation at hand.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Totally.
I mean, like, if you look at us, we're not like you said, the South people take their vacation for turkey hunting. We are more of a, if I have time to go, I guess I'm going to go. Like, that's where we're at. Like,
I mean, we definitely see like a huge range, because like the last few years of the pieces that we've killed our turkeys on, it's been no pressure, to where they come straight into the decoys, like, and it's picture perfect, to where we've hunted some properties to where it's, all right, we've walked 3 miles trying to get after these birds, and now it's just like, all right, we need to go find something different. Especially with those public land birds, they can be a challenge, and we've also had a lot of private land where there's not a lot of toms on them. So it's kind of made it even more difficult, where there might only be 2 or 3 toms on that, and it's just on a big ditch. And getting those 2 to 3 toms to get off them hens can be pretty difficult, to where if you have a lot of toms with your hens, you're more liable to get one pulled away. So we've definitely noticed.
Oh yeah, I've spent 1 year in Iowa. I was trying to kill one with a recurve, which was a dumb idea in the first place for me because I'm not very proficient with one of those. But I think we hunted 17 days in a row from the start of the season without killing one. And we were hunting them. I mean, morning, afternoons, evenings. In Iowa, some of those first seasons in Iowa, especially, if you have a late spring, those first couple seasons, and of course bow season in Iowa, if you have a bow tag for turkeys, is open the entire time. So we were out there through, essentially first shotgun, second shotgun, and into the beginning of third, and with a bow, and we got our butts kicked. I mean, turkeys were super henned up, very difficult to hunt. You go back to those same areas 2 weeks later in early May, and you'll smoke them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just running to the gun. And the same situation happens in the Southeast too. Everybody's just chomping at the bit to get in the woods because we've all been locked up in our homes all winter, we're just watching TV or whatever, ready to get outside, and all of a sudden spring is happening somewhere, and we want to be wherever that is. So you're dealing with a lot of hunting pressure and henned up turkeys early down there, and that makes things difficult. Anytime you throw a bunch of hens into the mix, that's a tough turkey to kill.
Yeah, I agree with that all the way through.
I've hunted a bunch of places down south, like Mississippi for one. Like I remember the first year we went down there, it was just like everybody and their brother. Like I mean, you drive around a corner, there's like 3 trucks. You go drive around another corner, there's 3 trucks. But I would say just going down there and seeing different places is probably one of my favorite things about hunting and like just out of state period. But as far as that though, like a lot of people I've talked to have said like Iowa is one of the most underrated turkey hunting spots that they've been to. Like the number of turkeys we do have here are just crazy. I know the last couple of years we've it kind of seems like it's declined a little bit, but from you being hunting a lot of different places, how would you say Iowa ranks up compared to a lot of other states?
Oh, it's great turkey hunting compared, as far as eastern turkey hunting goes. It's great compared to a lot of other places. You have to draw the tag, so they keep the pressure limited somewhat. They have good numbers of birds. Like you said, they have been declining a little bit, but still, it is higher numbers whenever you get into a pocket of turkeys. The interesting thing about Iowa, though, is they don't have turkeys across the whole state. There's pockets of birds in different areas, and those pockets are pretty strong. But unlike Missouri, you got turkeys, across the entire state pretty much. In Iowa, you have them in, I would say, half the state overall. I don't know if that's right or not. I mean, you'd have to look at a distribution map of turkeys in Iowa, but last I looked, there's pockets where there's very few of them. And then there's pockets where they're just going gangbusters. But like you said about the declines, these things can happen relatively quickly right under your nose because we've seen it happen in other states. There's been times when other states have experienced, a bumper crop of turkeys for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and then all of a sudden 6, 7 years go by and they have 3 or 4 bad hatches or bad years of production. And you're like, man, where'd all the turkeys go that were out here? I used to hear 8, 10 toms on this place, and now there's just one. That can happen with turkeys very quickly.
So what can you speak more to that? Like, what do you think's going on with the Iowa for say, or in our general area? Like, what is happening into the decline of turkeys?
Oh, there's a bunch of different ways to think about that. There's a pretty extensive research project going on right now in Iowa that we covered a few years ago on the channel. Not a lot of people watch that stuff. Most people that watch our content want to see a turkey get shot. I don't blame them, but I do wish more people would watch the habitat and the research stuff that we put out, because that's the way YouTube algorithm works, is if more people are interested in it, it pushes it out and more people are going to see it. So if at some point we could get 100,000 views or something on one of these research videos that we do, that'd be great. But anyway, sorry to go down the rabbit hole. I think that there's a number of different things that it could be. There are habitat issues in different places that, can negatively impact turkeys or positively impact turkeys, depending on what type of habitat you're creating. If you're trying to create big bedding thickets for deer, that's not necessarily great turkey habitat past a certain point. A usable space for a turkey is essentially if you sat down on your butt in the woods and you can look around and you can see into the distance a little bit, like your head is right at the top of the cover or the cover is below it, that's good habitat conditions for turkey. That's like the type of usable space they need. So if you go onto a property in Iowa that got smoked with TSI and was not followed up with active management to kill a lot of those invasives that come in, like, honeysuckle and all kinds of stuff, it might get really thick in there and the deer might love it for a few years. But that becomes a dead zone for the turkeys because it's just too thick and nasty for them. I know that's happening in certain situations that could be causing problems. Predators are also an issue because we don't trap. The fur market isn't where it once was. And at the same time, we're also managing a lot of these properties and their habitats to be more fragmented, where predators can hunt down they can take I mean, it's a straight line, One side is really thick in the woods and one side is wide open in a field. Well, a predator can run right up the edge of that thick block of timber and they can hunt much more efficiently rather than, 100 years ago, it was more of a mosaic across there where you had, native plants and stuff mixing in. And I will say, like, one of the DNR guys I'm friends with, we were talking about this not long ago. If you're in southern Iowa, for example, and you just drive around and look at farming practices, and then you go across the border into Missouri, on the Missouri side, farming practices are a lot more efficient. And on Iowa, his term for it was, up here we have a little bit dirtier farming practices, meaning that, we may leave a 20-yard buffer around the edge of a field for just weeds and native plants to grow. We may have more intact and wider fence rows in Iowa. I'm sure you guys have drove around and seen pheasants in the road ditches.
Yeah.
That's because that's one of the places they have with quality habitat. The road ditch doesn't get farmed. There's some native plants in there, and then they have some cover with the fence. So if you go down to Missouri, on the other hand, you see more cleaner farming. So more fence rows getting bulldozed in. They farm tighter up to those waterways. There's not as much of a buffer strip there. And consequently, southern Iowa seems to have, in my anecdotal, this is just my opinion. No, I don't know this for sure on the numbers, but I think I'm probably right. Southern Iowa seems to have more turkeys than a lot of parts of northern Missouri right now. So I think that has something to do with it. The other thing that I'll get at, other than habitats and predators, is there's this, how do I explain this? Whenever they reintroduce turkeys into an area like they did in Iowa, we did, if you guys are familiar with the history of NWTF, at one time we did not have turkeys in all these places. There was just a few strongholds left. One of them was in the southern Ozarks in Missouri, where there was wild turkeys left. A lot of these states had, almost no turkeys left. So they trapped and transported birds all over the country, and to establish new populations of wild turkeys, because they got decimated by, over harvesting things a couple hundred years ago, just like buffalo and lots of other species did. So when you reintroduce those populations, in most cases they boom, they explode, because they have all this usable space where there's no turkeys living right now. So they boom and they overshoot. Now, this may take years. This population boom after reintroduction may take several years, decades potentially, for them to reach a stable level. But once those populations stabilize, they tend to naturally start to fall after that until they reach another stable level. I don't really know how Mother Nature works, but it's like trying to, those birds, it seems like they're pushing out more and more turkeys to fill the landscape up, and then, the landscape is full, we're going to trim that back a little bit. Nature does that on her own, basically through a long period of time. We only think of year-to-year time frames as humans, but, this stuff is occurring over decades. So with that said, it seems like, birds are reintroduced, and then within the next 10, 20 years, they hit that boom and that peak within their population, and then it starts to fall off a little bit. And at one time in Arkansas, you could go into those mountains in northern Arkansas, and there was turkeys on every ridge. You'd hear a dozen gobblers. Fast forward to 2015 through 2018 or whatever, you go to them same places, and it is vacant. You'd be lucky to hear one turkey in 3 or 4 days of hunting in beautiful, beautiful country. So it can definitely happen. But now Arkansas is sort of picking up their population a little bit. Now they're on the rise. It's not anywhere close to where it used to be. But I think that's a valuable perspective to have. I don't know when the birds were reintroduced to Iowa in this case, but we could be experiencing over the last 20 years that boom in that population, and it may be dropping back down now to where it's going to ultimately stabilize over the long term. That's something to definitely keep an eye on, though. It's like turkey hunting today may not look the same as turkey hunting in 15 years in any one of these states. The one thing that does seem to work is quality habitat management, active habitat management on a year-to-year basis. That definitely seems to help them. And also managing the trigger finger. So if you got 10 longbeards on a property and you're doing habitat work, don't shoot all 10 of them. Come up with a management plan to take, say, 3 or 4 of them off of it every year and leave the rest. Then you're going to have, because they have high survival rates, especially adults, you're going to have a certain percentage of them that makes it. And if you have 2 or 3 years of bad production where you don't have jakes coming in the following year, you're still going to have toms on that property. And obviously hens. So there's a bunch of different ways to look at it. But I know that's long-winded, but I could talk about this stuff for a long time.
One of the things that I seen on TikTok, I was scrolling through the other day, and I won't say his name or the podcast that he was on. I think it was on a podcast. But he said that he was kind of explaining reaping turkeys.
Yeah.
And he was kind of saying that he thinks that reaping turkeys has had a huge negative impact on turkey hunting. And basically to where, like, he kind of would like to see one day to where we go away from reaping turkeys and maybe not make it legal anymore, because he kind of said you're taking advantage of, like, a vulnerable bird, I guess, or kind of like you're using it to, I'm trying to explain it how he did, but basically along those lines, you're using the decoy to, which I feel like is also still like a type of hunting, but is basically just like taking advantage of the bird. And I was going to ask you kind of like what your thoughts were on reaping.
He said
reaping turkeys.
I saw that same one. He said he thought that also with the reaping that that's showing the decline in.
Yeah, and he was saying that reaping turkeys was
the decline in the population.
Decline in population of turkeys. I was just kind of wondering what your thoughts were maybe on that.
That's mostly an opinion. I don't necessarily. I kind of share the same opinion, but at the end of the day, I try to stay away from opinions on that type of stuff, because there's no scientific data to really back that. I mean, they haven't done any sort of studies or anything like that show it. And there is, like me personally, I used to do it occasionally. I mean, we reaped turkeys when I was younger, by accident. We figured out one day if you hold this fan up in the middle of this field, they come running at you. I mean, that was 20 plus years ago when we were messing with it. So I've done it before, and it's definitely a rush. But I'd say in the last 10 years, I've steadily got away from that, where I'd prefer to kill them with just a call and no decoys a lot of the time. But then you're kind of getting into how people want to hunt turkeys. If it's legal in your state to use, there's a lot of people out there that think like, oh, the only way to hunt a turkey is with a call and a gun. Or, oh, the only way to hunt a turkey is with a bow and arrow. Or, oh, the only way to hunt a turkey is with decoys. And then you can get into everybody's separate perspectives and opinions, and you can really turn this thing into a giant ball of wax. So I stay away from that for the most part. Until there's actual data out there that proves that, then I don't really care if somebody decides to reap a turkey. It's not the way I want to do it, but I'm not going to try to push my way of thinking about this on everybody else.
Yep. Yeah.
I know that as that has went up, turkey populations have declined, but you could use the same argument with the predator thing. It's like, as the fur market has declined and people have stopped trapping, the turkey populations have went down. You can use the same argument for the habitat thing. It's like, well, when farming practices changed 30 years ago and became more and more efficient over time, the turkey populations went down. 50 years ago, when they started doing commercial timber farming in the southeast, that's when the turkey population started to go down a lot of these places. I mean, you can pick any one of these things and let it fit your narrative or your argument that you're trying to make, but until they put actual unbiased science on the ground out there to solve some of these problems, then it's just discussions. And I'm not saying it's a bad one. I think I would love for a project to research that and see if it's actually having an effect. Because, I mean, reaping turkeys does, in effect, often take out a dominant bird in an area. that you may not kill otherwise, but I don't necessarily believe that either. I mean, I think we're just as effective without a decoy as we are with a decoy.
100%. I think
Like half the time you use a decoy, it's a subordinate bird that's going to turn and go the other way. If you would have never introduced it in the situation at all, you might have killed him with a call.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I'd say 75% of the birds that we've tried to reap and kill, I'd say we don't. Like they see it and they walk the other way or they take off running and they're gone. I know we've never really had great success. I mean, we've killed a few birds doing it, but most of the time we don't. I don't know what we're doing, and maybe we're doing it wrong. I don't know.
Well,
but
we might be doing it wrong, but the thing, like, one thing that Coy and I, we did a whole hunt, and it was a reap, but it was a 2-hour hunt. Like we were in the field, and I just laid behind a regular tom decoy with a fan, but we had to sit there and wait because this tom had 5 hens, and we watched him breed 5 hens. And then he came at us, and then I killed him. So like I don't disagree or agree with. I
mean, kind of like you said, I'd like to see some science behind it and look into it. I guess before.
Yeah.
I mean,
The more pressing concern with me is the safety aspect.
Yeah.
Especially on public lands. I don't. That's ultimately why we stopped showing it for the most part on video. Back in the Spring Thunder days when I was working at Midwest Whitetail, we did it occasionally. What we did more often instead of the reaping was just fanning. We would keep a fan in the back of our vest sometimes, and we'd literally, if the turkey hung up at 50, 60 yards, we'd grab that fan and just stick it up in the air where the turkey could see it to give a little movement and then put the fan away, and here he'd come. That's something that we did occasionally, 10, 15 years ago. But I got away from that even. I think we might have fanned a turkey or two in the early days of THP, like back in 17 and 18. But for the most part, we hunt them with a call and a gun, and occasionally with a stationary decoy. I got away from it from the safety aspect because I was like paranoid that some 10 or 11-year-old kid was going to watch me walking around the woods with a turkey decoy on my head, and they were going to get the wrong idea and go out there without using their head on public land and put themselves in a bad situation. So that's why we got away from it. If you're on private land where you can control the pressure and you can see your surroundings and everything, and know it's a safe situation, it's kind of a different ballgame. But I just didn't want to put ourselves in that situation on public land with one of them, because we're trying to educate people, especially new hunters. I was like, man, if 50,000 people watch this video and just one kid gets the wrong idea and goes out there and makes a bad decision, that could cost him his life.
Yeah.
So that's why we got away from it.
Yeah. One question that I was going to ask, going back to the habitat side of things, with you being on public and hunting a lot of the public and everything, have you seen anything that like DNR or anything have done to some of these big public lands that, like, especially like we have here in Iowa, when we go walking through a public land piece, it's kind of hard because it's so thick. Like
the honeysuckle's taken over quite a bit.
Yeah. Like, do you think is there a way that we can somehow get that going where they can clean those bigger timbers up, or we can try to get it to better habitat on public land, especially like Iowa? I don't know, never been down to Missouri or anything like that, but I just know the public around us is super thick and it's hard to even walk ourselves in there.
DNR in Iowa needs a lot of help. They do. I can go on a WMA, say 20,000 acres in Iowa, and they'll have 1 or 2, 3 people working on that whole area. Conversely, you go down to Missouri on a 5,000 acre WMA or public area, they may have 6, 7 people working on it, because Missouri has that state sales tax that funds their department, which comes in, it's like 0.08% or whatever of basically all goods bought in Missouri that go to the conservation department. So, and growing up in Missouri, I was around all my redneck buddies, and we were always griping about the conservation department, what they were doing and all that. But as I've traveled around, I'm like, man, Missouri is actually one of the better ones out there. And when I was in Iowa, we're good friends with our local game warden there. We were always talking to him, and he was always like, man, youth hunter recruitment is down again for like the 8th year in a row in Iowa. At different times, they've had hiring freezes on their employees. And I have good friends of mine. Greg, he works on habitat and works for the DNR on public all the time. Like, I see him out there on the tractor. He cares about everything that's out there and is always trying to keep his pulse on what wildlife populations are doing. And like this guy, that's what he lives to do, is to work on habitat. But what I'm saying is, a couple guys cannot effectively manage that big of an area. I mean, think about it. If you're working on a piece of private land and you own 500 acres, think about how hard that is for just you and a buddy or two to manage that amount of property every year. I mean, it takes weeks of work to effectively manage that. And then, you're looking at that times 20, and putting the same number of people on it to work on. You're just there. They need more resources in order to fulfill those goals. It's not the individual people that are out there working for the DNR on those properties. The ones that I've met really care about wildlife and habitat, and it ain't like they're making crazy amounts of money doing it. Like, they do it because they love wildlife and habitat. But the department definitely needs more help. That's my anecdotal opinion on being on public lands up there versus Missouri. In Missouri, they just have way more manicured properties, way more active management going on because they have more funds to dump into it.
Do you know if there's a place that guys, like, maybe if they're interested in going to volunteer or something, is there any place that they could go and try to find that stuff, or do you just get a hold of your local DNR guy and see what's going on?
I would talk to your local DNR guys. All of them, anytime I've met any of them, has been a wealth of knowledge and information about how these things work. At one time we were trying to help buy a small piece of public land in Iowa through the hunting public, which ended up being quite the rodeo, trying to figure out how to do all that. And I would have had no idea of even where to start if I wouldn't been friends with Greg, who works for the DNR. So he kind of could help me, point me in the right direction, and what I would recommend is if anybody in Iowa specifically wants to see positive change in these things happen, you need to go to your commission meetings, and be respectful. Listen to what the commissioners have to say. But if you go to the meetings and they encourage you to do that. That's why they have the meetings, is so that they can tell the public what their plans are, what they're going to do, and the public can respond. If you go to those meetings and respectfully offer, opinions and thoughts on ways that we can change and improve things, that's how you start to move the needle a little bit, I think. That's where you start. But like you said, also talking to your local DNR personnel is helpful too. I feel like a lot of them get a bad rap, because I'm sure you guys hear the same thing. Like I said, when I was younger going to deer camp, everybody be griping about the conservation department, and what they were doing in Missouri or whatever. But the more I actually meet the people that work in those departments, it's like they're good people, most of them.
Oh, for sure.
That's no different than folks that work for the DNR in Iowa. It's like they want to see stuff happen too. They work there and they're focused on their job.
For sure. Real quick, I gotta get out of here because I gotta go pick up the boy and watch him. You guys are gonna keep going, but I just want to say I appreciate you coming on here and talking turkey hunting with us, and coming on here again. It's great to have you, and you're a huge inspiration to the hunting world. So I definitely thank you for coming on here for us.
Yeah, man, no problem at all. Happy to do it.
You guys keep having fun. I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, he's got to go get the boy. No, I'd agree with everything that you just said, Aaron. Have you been in contact or talked to? I think we did a podcast with the ISC. I don't know if you've been seeing any of that stuff, but that's where it's going, in my opinion. And I don't know if Coy and Gunner and Jace can speak to it as well. Is that they're more of trying to do land improvements and getting people more involved in like all the becoming a member and stuff like that, the money that goes to it, it's trying to go back into the DNR where we can try to start turning around and making Iowa just an all around kind of like a Missouri habitat type deal, like you're explaining. I don't know if you've heard anything on the ISC.
The Iowa Sportsman's Club.
Iowa Sportsman's Club, sorry.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We just started a 501c3 ourselves called the Habitat Association, and we've already got a few projects on the ground, but I've had several people from Iowa reach out wanting to get some projects going, and they discuss ISC a little bit. I am out of the loop there as far as the details of what goes on, but I think any group like that you can get involved with that is truly out for the betterment of wildlife and wild places, that's a positive thing you can do. You know, the more information you arm yourself with, the better it's going to be. A lot of people have a tendency to get angry and then go and take their anger out on some social media page or, you know, forum or whatever, and that's not productive. That's just spreading negative energy across the internet. Like, if you want to do something, you need to actively seek information to do it, and work with like-minded individuals, like what you're talking about. That's how, in my opinion, you influence positive change on that type of stuff. And like I said, the commission meetings are a good place to start. They usually broadcast them all live on YouTube, or they post them on YouTube after the fact. Not very many people watch them. But if you are a resident of Iowa and you care about this stuff, you need to listen and watch through those meetings, because that's what they're talking about in there. It's like new rules and regs that are going into effect, plans for habitat improvements and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to skin the cat, but like I said, Missouri has a lot better areas in general from a habitat perspective, and I think it's simply because of that state sales tax.
Yeah.
And I know everybody hates taxes, but that's one tax that I'm very thankful for in Missouri.
Yeah.
Because I can see the difference. I can tell you from being on lots of different heavily managed areas in Missouri that they are better than just about anything I've seen. And I'm not saying that they're great. They need to be improved upon. Like this, those funds need to be spent more efficiently. But that's the reason you go to the commission meetings and you participate in the process, so that you can help hold them accountable and you can provide them with what you're seeing on the landscape, what your concerns are.
Yep, I think we all totally agree with that. I see a lot of guys, like you said, commenting on Facebook and just being negative, but you don't see them going and doing anything about it. I had what I thought was pretty cool. I had a buddy from Wisconsin come down, and he lives down here now and bought a big farm, and he really cares about it. And he goes to the state house, and he goes and helps fight laws and listens and does stuff. I mean, every time they have one, and I think it's just cool because he cares about not letting it get to where Wisconsin did on like habitat. And he said everyone up there just owns 40 acres and everyone's chasing 140-inch deer. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I know I haven't been up there to fight any laws or try to do anything like that. So I think it just speaks kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah, and as long as you go into it with an open mind and you're respectful and courteous to those people, that's definitely the way to be heard. If you go up there and you're pounding the table and you're yelling at them, you know, what would you do in that situation? Yeah. You know, if somebody came to you with all that negativity, it's not a good way or a productive way to have a conversation, a constructive one at least.
Yeah.
So if you go into that and you're able to speak to them about an issue, be respectful, state your case, and keep an open mind that there's lots of other perspectives at play here too, not just yours on the hunting situation. And that's why state agencies are always fighting that, you know, because they have these interest groups all over the place. You know, auto insurance companies, Farm Bureau, they've got hunters. I mean, they have to balance all this stuff, and you need to be conscious of those other perspectives as well, and look for the best solutions possible for everything, including the resource.
Kind of switching gears a little bit. In one of our last podcasts, we all kind of sat around the table and just kind of told some of our funniest turkey hunting stories. What's one funny turkey hunting story you had whether it's a mishap or, like I was talking and like we had like deer run out in front of us and then there's goats and dogs batting behind us and just fun, anything you have off the top of your head that's kind of like funny and rolls into the turkey hunting season.
Oh, hell, I've had plenty of mishaps. Shoot. I mean, where do you even start there? I've set up on tame birds and somebody's, that are in a pen in the backyard, been on a high ridge on public and hear this distant gobble. And then 3/4 of a mile later, I'm set up in the timber and this turkey's hammering at everything, but he just won't budge. Then eventually you walk up there and you realize, oh, there's a property line there and it's a tame bird and somebody's pen. It was answering everything.
Yeah. No,
You've had that happen. One time my buddy Zach was filming me in Tennessee, and he had like a slow motion camera or whatever. Zach Kurzieski. This is back in the Spring Thunder days with Cabela Spring Thunder, and we were filming some slow motion stuff in this creek. And I'd killed a turkey, and he kept telling me, he's like, all right, I need you walking right down this creek and splashing that water with your boots so we can see the water flying up and the turkey over your back and your gun in your hand. And I'd done this about 4 or 5 times. And them rocks in that creek are slick, boy. And I'm walking down through there, and he's like, man, I need you walking faster. I need the water more pronounced. I'm like, man, if I walk any faster, this could be trouble. But anyway, I went down through there that last time, and he was sure enough rolling on that slow motion camera, and my feet come clear out from underneath of me, and I fell right on my ASS in that creek, boy. And I mean, it was turkey got soaking wet, gun got soaking wet. I went almost under the water completely, and it was all caught on slow motion. So,
oh, Jesus.
That's pretty cool.
Awesome. That's awesome. I got a question since we're into this now. What is your favorite? I would say favorite state to get after some birds or deer hunt.
Oh, I don't have really a favorite. I like hunting Missouri where I'm from. So if I had to pick one, that'd probably be it. But I have some that are not my favorite. I have way more that are my favorites. Anywhere where there's an eastern turkey, I'm pretty much wide open to going. I like chasing Miriams. I like hunting Rios some. But I would say if I had to pick one to toss out, it would be Osceolas. I like Osceolas fine. If I got a week to go turkey hunting and I've got an option to go hunt an eastern in the southeast or the Midwest or wherever, or an Osceola in Florida, I'm going to pick the eastern pretty much every time.
Okay.
That's just not my cup of tea. A lot of people love the swamps down there in the early season. And, public land Osceolas, private land Osceolas, whatever. It's muggy and buggy and snaky and
I can't
swampy and I don't know. It's just not my favorite place to go. I mean, it's still turkey hunting and I love all sorts of turkey hunting, but that's definitely the one I would shelf in order to go other places.
Yeah. I got a question about you said you went recurve hunting, and I know you can bow hunt too, but I bow hunt every year. Do you usually do it in a blind? Do you more run and gun style?
When I was hunting with a recurve?
Yeah.
Oh no, I bought a ghillie suit. I was all run and gun. I was dead set on I'm gonna kill one with a recurve or no blind. Yeah. Stupid. And I had killed some turkeys with a bow already, in a blind and not in a blind, but a recurve is a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
I practiced with that thing to where I was pretty proficient with it out to about 20 yards, and I finally got an opportunity at a longbeard, and I missed him at 14 yards, and he actually jumped my string like a deer would.
Oh, man.
I mean, I had this in my head how this was going to work. I'm like, okay, I'm going to set up on the ground. I'm going to put a strutter decoy out there at 15 yards. I'm going to face him straight at me or straight away from me. So when that tom comes in and he goes around the decoy, his vision will be obscured by that fan, and I'll be able to ease that bow back. And then when he pops out one side of the decoy or the other, I can kill him. Because you can't hold a recurve back very long, not like a compound, you know. You can't just see him come and get to full draw and wait for him to walk in there. You need to be able to pull that thing back and let her go.
Yeah.
So that was my whole plan, and it finally worked. Gobbler came charging in. He flogged the decoy, and then he went around the back of it. I come to full draw, and he came out in the opening just perfect, had no idea I was there. And I settled that thing and let her go. Shot felt great. We were filming it. You can see in the slow motion footage the arrow just going right for him. And that sucker heard that bow go off or saw that arrow or something, and he went to lock his legs to take off, and it just cut feathers off the top of his back.
Oh man. Yeah.
And I looked back at that footage, and I was like, if that bow and that arrow is going that slow to not be able to kill him at 14 yards, I'm going back to the 870, and I ain't looking back.
I told these guys
So-
this year that that's one of my goals in the upcoming future is to shoot one with a recurve, and I haven't tried it yet. I've got my butt whooped a lot bow hunting them, trying to do it from the ground without a blind, and the recurve is just going to be even harder than that.
Yeah, I think you can definitely do it. I know buddies of mine that have done it, but very few of them stick with it afterwards.
Yeah.
I know.
Most of them try it and either fail or succeed, but after whatever happens, whatever outcome, they're done after that, and they go back to the shotgun.
Yeah, my brother, he was the one that kind of introduced me into like bow hunting them, and so like, and I didn't use a recurve or anything. I just took the whole compound out, and man, I was determined with Coy over here that I was going to shoot one without being in a blind. Like I wanted to run and gun one. That's what I wanted to do. I think we set up on like 7 birds, man, that got to like 30, 40, you know, somewhere in there. And then they would just hammer, and then they just wouldn't commit. And I told Coy after that season, because I went the whole season, we hunted hard.
Yeah.
And we had all these birds hang up on us. And I looked at him and I said, never again. I was like, I'm going to have my Mossberg, and I'm going to have a 3.5-inch shell, and I'm going to shoot that turkey's face off. I was like, I'm never picking a bow up ever again in my life to turkey hunt. I was like, this is just, and I probably will, but I just to say that I can do it and prove to myself that I can do it. But man, just shooting them in the face with a shotgun, I love it. So that's one of my.
Yeah, I love bow hunting them too. I mean, I don't do it hardly ever anymore, but I did it a good bit when I was living up in Iowa, you know, for 10 years. I bow hunted them some and killed a few in Missouri with a bow. But I also lost a bird with my bow one time, and it was on a shot that I thought was perfect. I mean, the turkey came in, and I made the shot, and he took off, and I was like, man, I hit him right where I was aiming. Like I didn't get nervous and pull it or, you know, punch the trigger and miss my aim point. Like I aimed at that spot and I hit him there and I didn't get him. And that one really bothered me. I didn't bow hunt a lot after that, you know, just because I know if I put that bead on his head and I shoot, he's inside of 40 yards, there's a real good chance he's going nowhere but to the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
If I execute on the shot, you know, I've missed plenty of them with a gun too, but I usually know what I did when I missed them.
Yeah.
You know, my head come off the gun or whatever. But in this case, I hit the turkey right where I wanted and I didn't get him, and that bothered me. So I didn't bow hunt as much after that.
Yeah. Trace that just left, he smoked one dead center and it flew off over the trees. Like
Yep.
after that, yeah, he had a sour taste in his mouth.
Yeah. I think, and that was would have been one of our cooler videos, but we ended up losing it. So Coy ended up shooting that hunt. So Coy ended up shoots. Go ahead, just tell it.
Yeah, I had already shot one, and that one was picking its head up and lifting it off the ground, and I already shot one with my bow, and then he shot that one dead center, flew over the trees, and we went and actually like kind of blood tracked him and found him.
Yep.
But it was on the neighbors, and we left the bow, but we tried to jump on him, and he flew off.
Yep. Yeah, I've been a part of a few of those rodeos with a bow and arrow, and I just as soon shoot him in the face with a shotgun.
Yeah. Yep. So going to shooting him in the face, I really love the video of you trying to shoot one with the smoke pole.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I could see the frustration a little bit that you had going on YouTube with that. If you want to dive into that.
Oh man, that thing is that thing give you gray hairs toting it around the woods. It's the most cantankerous old gun that I have. A more modern one, I think, would be real effective, but that old thing, you just got to keep moisture out of it. I've had so many mishaps with like misfires, or even it just only burning half the powder for whatever reason. Cap's not firing properly, but I finally have a decent load in it now. However, I think I've killed 2 turkeys with it, and friends of mine have killed a couple turkeys with it. And every time it's a rodeo. It's not uncommon to miss 1 or 2 of them before you finally kill one. And with the smoke pole in your hand, you were talking about bow hunting them and getting them to 40 yards and hanging up. Well, with a shotgun, 40 yards is trouble.
Yeah.
With that muzzleloader, he's still got to come 10, 15 more yards before I can think about pulling that hammer back on him. I mean, he's not that gun won't. I don't trust it to kill him at that distance, even with bismuth shot in it or TSS. The gun's not. I mean, the pattern sprays so much out of it, even with a turkey choke. I mean, you fight all sorts of issues with it. So, and I'm no expert at it, as you can tell. I'm a very novice, guy that just watches some YouTube and hopes for the best as far as taking that thing to the woods. But I got some good tips from Clay Hayes on it. He's got a real cool YouTube channel. He does all kinds of stuff with flintlocks and whatnot. So I've got it shooting a better pattern now, but you got to just kind of expect failure whenever you take that thing out.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a kick out of that entire video just because, like, the one video where you had like 3 birds rolling in and like from all different sides coming off those ridges and then getting really close and then it either hang firing or somehow it missed or this pattern was something. I don't know. It was funny, but it was
I just flat out missed that one. I look back at the footage and like he was kind of head bobbing and getting out of there. And
yeah,
with a shotgun, you just pull it up and point and click.
Yeah.
With that thing, you got to kind of squeeze the trigger off and you got to really follow through your shot perfectly. And I think I just shot right in front of him.
Yeah.
But the turkey was totally fine. Like he went back to gobbling immediately.
Yeah. That's cool. So another question here. Turkey hunting or deer hunting? Where's your favorites? Like, what's the favorite thing that you like doing more? Do you like turkey hunting more or do you like more of the deer hunting side of things?
Elk.
Elk. Even better. Even a better answer right there.
Yeah. Elk in September, deer in November and October, turkeys in March, April, May.
Yeah, I think we all.
And that's how it goes for me. I will not give up September elk. That's the one thing that I don't get to do as often as the other 2, but it is my favorite thing. So that's the one that I won't give up. But a close second on both sides is turkey hunting spring and bow hunting deer in the fall.
Okay, yeah, I like that answer because we've always been told by our good friends that go out west and they're going out for the mule deer or those elk. They're like, basically take deer hunting and turkey hunting and then bang, there's elk. they're like it's a rush that you won't ever experience unless you go out and do it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we really want to do.
We had our bow tech on last night. He works on all our bows here locally, and he's like, whitetail and turkeys don't even hold a light to elk hunting. He's like, I'll go out west and hunt elk any day of the week. So we always ask everyone, like, what's your dream hunt or whatever? He's like, elk, 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 elk. He's like, it's just there ain't nothing better than climbing up in the mountains, hearing them call back to you, chasing them, and just staying up in them. I mean, they camp up there for days and days. He said there's nothing like it.
I would agree. That's definitely my favorite thing to do. It is mentally and physically exhausting to try to kill an elk with a bow, especially on public. But man, if you can do it, it is amazing. And you get one of them suckers on the ground. It's like, holy cow, this is a small steer out here. This is gonna feed. It'll feed you for over a year.
That's awesome.
And we'll go through 4 or 5 deer here at the house and a handful of turkeys every year, but one elk is enough to fill up a couple freezers for me. So that's the difference between elk and turkey hunting, though. You shoot a turkey and you can just toss him over your shoulder and head to the Waffle House or wherever you want to go for breakfast. With an elk, you get that thing on the ground, and it's like, oh boy.
And the work really begins.
Yeah, a couple days later, you got everything lined out.
So, like, going into the campouts and stuff like that, do you guys camp? I know you guys camp a lot, but I've seen, like, some recent videos and stuff, or they might not be recent, but, like, you guys just pop up right in the middle of like, if you guys are roosting birds, I've seen you guys, throw a little tent thing up that you can sleep on at the night right there, and then you just get up and then go right away. Is that something you guys do often, or do you guys, like, normally come back together and then talk and then like at like a hotel or a cabin that you guys have, or do you guys just stay in the cars? Like, I've seen that too, so I just didn't know.
We kind of do a mixture. We don't stay at hotels much. Occasionally we'll stay at an old deer camp or something somewhere, but most of the time we're camping either in the truck or with our little one-man tents. We like to stay, I feel like, it's probably funner, like a funner experience if we have the whole group there and we're in a deer camp atmosphere, or if we're in like a sort of a central base camp location. That's the funnest way to do it because we got everybody there. We're all cooking and visiting at night, sort of the turkey camp or deer camp atmosphere. But when we're most effective is when 2 or 3 of us go out and we just run and we're like camping with them.
Okay.
And we're bouncing around several public areas until we find the right situation, and then we're staying with them, especially with turkeys.
Yeah, and I
we do the same thing with deer to an extent, but definitely with turkeys and even elk out west.
Yeah, I can see the elk out west. You guys just sleeping in your deer stands or what?
No, we just toss up those little one-mans.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I mean, a lot of times we're truck camping. We don't backpack camp a lot except for elk. We do that occasionally for deer, and we have backpack camped a time or two for turkeys. But most of the time we have those little one-man tents, or I have that pop-up tent on the top of my truck topper that I've been sleeping in for the last couple of years from Go Fast Campers. That thing is super handy. But most of the time, we're just staying right there close to the truck. Very minimalistic gear setup, like $100 tent, $40 pad, cheap sleeping bag, throw it on the ground and go to sleep.
Yeah,
And in the morning, we put it all away and go hunting. And if we have to move, we toss it in the truck and keep on moving. Over the years, we are constantly trying to figure out how to take less stuff, always.
I think that's one big thing that just like watching you guys when you started to where you are now is like, I think that's why you guys grew so fast is like you guys are just kind of down to earth people and you're doing things that your average hunter guys can do. It's not like you guys are going out on a piece of property that you own and you're riding in your quiet cats or whatever, this and that. But I mean, there's a lot of times you guys are wearing mixed match camo and you're maybe not even wearing camo, stuff like that. So it's just a lot more relatable stuff that I think, and I think a lot of people watch your guys' stuff because of that. It's the stuff that all of us around this table and everybody that we really know we're doing.
Yeah, that's what we've done our whole lives pretty much. We all come from different backgrounds and different places, but the majority of the hunting public, the general public that hunts in the U.S., is just like us. Average middle-class folks that, that we relate to because that's how we've always done it.
I think some of the newer YouTube channels, even some that maybe you've been a part of, it's so choreographed and filmed out, and it's just like watching a movie, and it's like, we film more of like a raw stuff and just, post what happens, good or bad, and we don't spend a lot of time editing. Some of them videos, it's just edit to a point where some of them don't even, they're an hour long, and then to our video would be 5 minutes. Yeah. So I think that's one thing too. People like watching about you guys. It's just you guys post the raw stuff, the real stuff, kind of like what Gunnar was saying. And I think that's why you guys have had the success that you have. I think a lot of people appreciate that.
Well, thanks. We're doing our best. We're just kind of throwing it together all the time, as you can tell. But
yeah, you're just yourself, and that's what everybody likes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. No. What would be Aaron Warbritton's dream hunt I mean, money not an option, time not an option. Where's one place that you just want to go, and what weapon would you want to take with you?
Bow hunting elk in September.
You ain't going away from that one, man.
Nope. That's what I
No,
figured.
you can have the $10,000 Yukon moose for $20,000 or whatever it is. I mean, sure, I want to do that, but I'm always thinking about opportunity cost because I got a family at home and I'm running a business that's full of people that I really care about. So I have to prioritize my hunting. And as you guys know, all of us on THP, we hunt plus film plus edit. So, like, as soon as we're done with this podcast, I'm going to continue looking at this computer screen for the rest of the day today. Because I'm going to be editing turkey videos. But anyway, getting back to the opportunity cost thing, I only have, say that there's 30 days in a month. I may have 10 or 11 days that I can hunt something during hunting season. And the rest of the time is devoted to family and friends and business and coworkers and stuff like that. So I'm always looking at what do I want to do with that time. If I had unlimited time, I'd want to go on all the moose hunts and sheep hunts and all that stuff. Maybe go to Africa at some point. But bow hunting elk in the rut. I mean, I don't. The money isn't really a concern of mine as much as just having the experience. So wherever, if I can go bow hunt elk in the rut for $500 on public land, I'll do that. If the tag costs $2,000, I'll try to find the money to do that. I just want to hunt them with a bow in the rut. That's my favorite thing to do.
I think there's so many people doing YouTube and stuff now. Which is good. Everyone's filming hunts and getting more into that. What advice would you give a newer person or a newer group to getting into the filming industry?
Don't try to be like the people that you've watched and been excited about up to that point. Try to be yourself. And if you want to have success doing it, you need to do something that's unique and different. That's if you look at like the successful platforms that are out there. I'll use Heartland Bowhunter as a example. I don't know if you guys have watched them or not.
Yeah.
They were sort of the first ones to come along and bring that cinematic video style to hunting. And they did things differently in that department. They were able to build a brand doing that. Seek One, I don't know if you guys watched them on YouTube.
Yep.
They were kind of the first ones to target big deer in the city and do it consistently. There was other people that had done it before, but they were the first ones to really tell a story with a video camera around it and do it consistently. There's oodles of other examples of that. Midwest Whitetail, first online semi-live hunting show. Back in them days, it was all DVDs that people were buying at Walmart, and then all of a sudden, here's this online hunting show. This is a new thing. And I gravitated toward it at that time. That's how I ended up being an intern at Midwest Whitetail in 2011. Because I was watching it, on my lunch break at the appliance store when I was working. I was in college and working and watching Midwest Whitetail on my lunch break. Just couldn't wait for them to put a video out. That was back in like 2008, 2009. Yeah. So that's my point. If you're trying to get into this, it depends on what your goals are. If your goal is to make hunting videos and put out content that you're proud of, that you can sit back and watch in the future with family and friends, then I would encourage anybody and everybody to do it, because that's ultimately why I do it. I mean, I just love being able to have this stuff on video to look back on. I mean, it helps, refresh my memories of these different experiences I've had with these wonderful people all over the country. That's really the main reason for doing the video stuff in the first place. If you want to make it into a career, you have to be different in some way. And we did that accidentally, like I said, just by being ourselves. We were already hunting public land, and that's just what we've always done. But at the time, nobody else was really producing public land hunting videos on YouTube. So it's kind of this perfect storm where we just started producing our stuff and showing people what we were doing, and the timing was good. And yeah, nobody had really done that before. So that's my piece of advice, is if you're getting into this and you're trying to you're decided like, I'm going to make it a career to make hunting videos, if you do things just like somebody else is doing them out there already, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Because somebody's already done it.
Yeah, I think that's the greatest piece of advice, and you hit the head of the nail right there on like how we started. We kind of just were sitting at home, and we said we should just start videotaping our hunts, and then it became more of a we just want to videotape because we like to go back and look at the look at it. You'll catch me every once in a while. I'll go back to some of the old turkey hunting videos that we posted to Facebook, or like a deer hunt, and like when somebody sees one of the deer hanging on the wall, like the one back behind me here, right? Like we didn't. I mean, it wasn't good footage. Trace self-filmed it, didn't get the kill on, but like it's still cool to go back and watch that video and then like look in the recovery video of like just being around everybody, and it's a good thing, like in my opinion, that we do is we just ourselves, kind of like you guys, and we don't want to leave anything out type situation. And but Aaron, I appreciate like you just coming on and taking the time out of your day. Like you said, you got a busy schedule, man. You're editing all day long today, you're doing those things, and I appreciate more than anything for you coming on and speaking with us, and especially over the amount of like hour or however long we're even talking. Yeah. I could probably talk all day with you, but I really appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, no problem. This will be the best part of my day, getting to talk hunting with you guys. I'll be working doing stuff the rest of the day.
All right, Aaron. Well, we appreciate it. We love the hunting the public. We love everything about it. I'm going to keep watching your videos come out and everything. Excited to see the turkey tour of 2025. Anybody listening to this, we got our merch line out. Hopefully you guys want to go grab it. We're currently all wearing it. It's very comfortable, but thanks again, Aaron. And if anybody wants to go look at their videos or your guys' podcasts and stuff like that, they can go find that on all social media platforms, correct?
Yep. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Aaron. We appreciate it, man.
Yep.
No problem, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.